Let's speak with Victor Katan. He's from an organisation called Al-Shabaka, a Palestinian think tank. Victor Katan has also written about the origins of the Arab-Israeli conflict, and he joins us now from our London studio. Victor Katan, thanks for your time tonight. Let's first consider this report that there is a plan from the US, the EU, Russia and the UN for Mahmoud Abbas to submit the request for recognition, but then the vote will be delayed while peace talks are restarted. What do you see as the potential benefits and the pitfalls of this plan?
Well, it would allow the Palestinians to pursue negotiations more seriously with the Americans and with the Europeans in New York at the United Nations. But I'm not sure if the Palestinians would be keen on pursuing that option because of the stall of negotiations and also because of the position of the Israeli government on certain core issues to do with Jerusalem, borders, the settlements, the refugee problem and the status of the Jordan Valley. So my understanding is that the Palestinians would want to present their bid before the Security Council, and if that fails, they would go to the United Nations General Assembly to get an upgrade as an observer state.
If this plan does come to pass, though, what sort of conditions, in light of what you've just said there about the Palestinians' misgivings and what they would expect, what sort of conditions could the Palestinians ask for if there is any sort of delay?
Well, one of the conditions I understand is that they want a cease to settlement construction in the West Bank. And I think that's a stumbling block because the current government in Israel is refusing to stop building the settlements.
Further to that, how do you think the Israelis will respond to what appears to be in play in New York at the moment?
Well, it seems that they're trying to get the Americans to veto any statehood bid to the Security Council, and they're also lobbying other countries on the council to either abstain or vote against the Palestinian plan to go there.
So, from your reading, does this plan more benefit the US and its standing in the region more than it does the Palestinian cause?
No, I think the Americans are in a tight spot because of the changes that have happened in the wider region, and I don't think they want to veto this resolution. And so it would put them in an unfortunate position, which they don't want to be in, which is why I think they're trying to persuade the Palestinians to either delay going to the Security Council or to pursue alternative options, perhaps by going to the UN General Assembly.
If there is recognition and then goes to the Security Council vetoes it, and as you mentioned, they may get observer status or be considered a non-member state. How will that be received back home amid the Palestinian people?
Well, I think it would depend on the resolution that's adopted, and it would depend on the vote. But my understanding is that they'd probably get a significant majority of states. So that could give the Palestinians or Abbas a victory to come home with. And it could also open up options to joining other international organizations and as well as certain international tribunals.
Victor, on the presumption that in time statehood is recognised, what difference will that make on the ground for Palestinians?
It won't make any, and I think Abbas made this point when he gave his speech last Friday on Palestinian television. It won't make a direct difference on the ground, but it could trigger into motion a series of events that may, in the long term, lead to changes. It may allow the Palestinians to, at least on paper, argue that as a recognized state, Israel should negotiate with them as equals, and it would give them leverage in any future negotiations. For instance, it is possible that if the United Nations claims that Palestine is a state, or there is a vote to that effect, that it could have consequences at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. So it would give them leverage, and I think that could be seen as a victory, although it won't change things on the ground to begin with. It may in fact lead to in the short term, a deterioration of relations with Israel.
If the vote is delayed, how much pressure will this bring to bear on the Palestinian leadership in the eyes of its own people? And what could be the ramifications of that?
Yeah, I think it depends how long how long it will be delayed. I think the momentum is already there and the expectations are very high. So I think the Palestinians would want to get this process in, as soon as possible, and we'll see what happens on Friday when Abbas speaks at the UN General Assembly. But the Palestinians have been arguing that they've been pursuing negotiations with Israel. Their position is that they've been pursuing these negotiations for 20 years, and throughout that period of time, the settlements have continued to expand. And so, any more delays without any concessions from Israel or change in their status as a state would not go down well. And I should point out that President Barack Obama only a year ago said that he hoped to see that Palestine would emerge as a state this time round. And the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank claim that Palestine is ready for statehood. So I'm not sure they're keen on delaying matters any further.
So, Victor, more than 20 years of talks, as you just mentioned. What will the next 2.5 days be like? How furious will the negotiating and the lobbying be?
I think it's going to be very serious. If one looks at history, if one considers the history of the 1947 UN partition plan, there was very heavy lobbying going on at that time. So I expect that the United States is probably going around certain countries and putting a lot of pressure, possibly financial pressure, other modes to get them not to vote to vote for a Palestinian state at the Security Council. I'm not sure how much influence they have in the UN General Assembly. The key at the UN General Assembly will be the European Union, the states of the European Union.
Victor Katan in London, thank you very much for your perspective and your time tonight.
Thank you very much, Scott.